However, chasing speed has always faced the same problem: traction. As horsepower increases, tires spin. As speed increases, tires slide. As width increases, tires rub. Decades ago, engineers would reach a solution to this problem, a solution so ham-fistedly obvious yet elegantly simple that it persists to this day: the widebody.
Hey, I'm Kyle Padelford, and this is my 1991 Sylvia front-end SR-powered S13.
And I'm Danny Levitt, and this is my 1991 LS-powered Rocket Bunny V2 240SX. So I built my Nissan 240SX as an all-around platform car. I wanted to be able to change the tire setup and change the alignment, take it drifting, and change the tire setup again and change the alignment and take it to the time attack track. So I have two 75s in the front and three 15s in the rear, so it just makes a very balanced chassis that's a lot of fun on and off the track.
Well, Danny built his car for all around, but specifically I built my S13 for drift. So on my car, I'm running over fenders in the front and rear. More steering angle in the front meant that I needed to have a wider front track, and that didn't fit under the stock fenders. So this is wide body for the purpose of drifting.
Oh, look at all the 80s and 90s race cars. All the 80s and 90s race cars were these crazy wide body cars on BBSs with turbos, and they were awesome, you know? It's almost the same spirit.
Yeah, I think it definitely, the wide body movement started out of necessity from race series. You know, actual race cars on the track and their custom suspension setups and chassis, they needed to go wide body to fit all their massive tire in there and their huge track width and all that. And that's, I think, where it started. And, you know, it's evolved to where it is now. People want that look.
Danny and Kyle are right. Many of us, naturally fans of the insanity of old Group B rally cars and the absurdity of the super silhouette cars of Group 5, have found beauty in the functionality of those old designs. They were engineered out of necessity, before supercomputer traction control systems existed, before tires were developed that could stick to ceilings. Race cars of that era, with their lethal power-to-weight ratios, had to be somehow harnessed. This is Tony Lee. He would be telling you about his car right now, but unfortunately, he was sick and had completely lost his voice during this shoot. Yet he still brought his car out and showed us spots all around LA. Tony is the owner of one of the most exquisite street-driven Subaru STIs in existence. The attention to detail is second to none. Every part is genuine. Tile, Nvidia, Tomei, Fujitsuba, Koyo, Cusco, Whiteline, Beatrice, Brembo, Advan, ChargeSpeed, Veris, HKS, Voltex, Ride, Works, ProDrive, Defi. But the most striking modification are the new M Sport fenders. With no exposed rivets and even a wide-body gas door to match, Tony's STI is one of the sleekest, most subtle wide-body cars I've ever seen. You really have to be an enthusiast to even realize it's wider than stock. It must be noted though that Tony's car is not built for the track. Despite boasting over 400 wheel horsepower and being built with components and suspension adjustments that would easily allow it to track, Tony's goals lay on the street, not on the circuit. His widebody kit then is not built out of necessity, but out of taste. Not strictly for function, but for form too. And the reason, the motivation which drove Tony to widen his car by 80 millimeters is the stuff that the modern widebody movement is built on: reverence, respect, and awe. Drifting legend Nobushige Kumakubo, who designed and built the famous Ibisu circuit in Japan, campaigned in the D1 drifting series in his Team Orange GDB Impreza, note the fenders. Kumakubo, one of Tony's heroes, and his car would go on to heavily inspire Tony, who dreamt of having a Subaru as subtly aggressive as the legendary Team Orange GDB, and recently that dream became a reality. The streetcar scene is built off of stories like this. Whether D1 drift cars or DTM silhouette cars, imitation is always the highest form of flattery.
We might not have the same funding as the race teams, so our suspension geometry might be a little lacking, but we look just as good.
So this video isn't a condemnation of ridiculously wide cars or the fad of wide-body cars on the street. It's recognizing that as much as we divide ourselves into different disciplines of interest, race cars, show cars, street cars, all of car culture is inevitably connected. We're one body, and what happens in one area inevitably affects the rest.
It's super important in all of car culture, whether it be racing, showing your car, drifting, any form of motorsport. I think it's important that we all support each other. I mean, we're so passionate about the same thing. It might be in different areas, but the passion's still there, and I have respect for everyone who just loves to get in a car.